Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast, which we do not have a title for yet, and we need to think of a title for.
We do. We still do. Goddamn.
Maybe in a couple of
Uh,
days' time, or like when we upload this video, we'll actually have a title. But for now, it's just the podcast.
the podcast, yes, indeed.
Like, of all podcasts in the world, this is the podcast.
Well, unfortunately, I already know of a podcast that's called The Official Podcast.
Oh, well, we do, yeah, but we're not the official podcast, we're just the podcast.
True, but it's pretty close, though.
Well, if they sue us, then that sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
can
that, that would indeed suck.
can confirm, does suck.
Anyways, so,
Any hooker.
um, yeah, yes, today's topic is one that I know a lot more about yet. Like last time was kind of just like, that was one of Dan's games that he loves to talk about. Well, today is two different game series, not even games individual, but game series that I love to talk about. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Who
Yeah,
have kind of sort of they've kind of always gone like hand in hand like since the beginning.
pretty much. Because they seem to be like, in a way, they were almost like Sony's. I Nigga, you maybe argue with this statement, but they were somewhat Sony's like Mario competitor in the sense that they were like the two main platformers, adventure sort of games on PlayStation.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good. I want to make sure that you. It'd be nice you a disagreement from the start, but no, at least we sort of had the same wavelength there.
Well, actually, it's funny you said that because like I did a little bit of research before we recorded this. So let me think. I watched a freaking history of Spyro video that's done by this channel called Gaming Historian, and
Nice.
then also just he didn't do one for Crash, but this other guy just did one that's like the history of Crash Bandicoot, and it was a bit longer. It was just done by just some guy. His YouTube name was like Nick like 903. It's just some dude, but they're both informative though. Well, Crash Bandicoot came first, and Crash Bandicoot was literally created out of Sony's desire to make competitors to Mario and Sonic.
Yeah.
Like that was the full stop. They wanted their own, like they saw how successful they were. They wanted their own platform mascots, and so they got these guys to make some. With Naughty Dog, um, they were making like little like Apple computer games like for 10 years. They their first game was in '85 actually. And then at some point, though, they made this fighting game on a system that I always forget the name for. But apparently, it was a big deal because the first Insomniac game was also made on this thing. Hang on, I gotta find it now.
Wait, which one was that? Yeah, I need to
I
look it
I
up
don't,
as well.
I don't remember I remember what it was called. So I don't remember. It was like an MOD something, or it was like a three letter console and then a number. Ah, here it is, the 3DO, not a 3DS, a 3DO back in 1994.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of this console before, but it was a thing that Naughty Dog's very, very first game under Universal Interactive was a game called Way of the Warrior on the 3DO back in 1994. And then after that, Universal like put Naughty Dog into this contract where they would make three games under them, and then they got to work in Crash Bandicoots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a direct result of people at Sony and Universal. They wanted their own platform mascots. So saying that it's kind of like Sony's own version. No, that's an understatement. It literally is. Like they wanted a platform mascot, so they got teams to make them.
Yeah, and Universal Interactive were like I don't think they exist anymore, or at least they've disbanded, or like a lot of game companies from the 2000s sort of dissolved into either a
They
subsidiary or something else. But yeah,
worse.
Universal.
Worse. They merged.
Oh yeah. For Universal Interactive, their main two babies were Crash and Spyro, pretty much, and they started with, like I said, so Crash was the first game that came out, and actually, if I'm right in thinking, so let me double check. So I've got mine net up as well. Crash Bandicoot 996. All right, so it came out. I think it was not too long after the release of Mario 64.
Yes, they were
'Cause
very close. They were very close together.
yeah, well, actually, Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot came out in Europe before Mario 64 did. No, Crash Bandicoot was released a few weeks before Mario 64, actually. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
I generally thought it was the other way around. Well, I thought Mario 64 was released just before, but no. So it's interesting because obviously Mario 64 was like the big anticipated games. Like, oh my God, Nintendo are entering the 3D era, and oh my God, Mario is coming to 3D. But PlayStation, Sony, like, were making their
Yeah,
venture pretty much into the gaming scene. Really, at this
exactly, they
point.
were. And I think Crash Bandicoot was originally they wanted to make a 2D platforming game, but it happened. This happened to be going on at the time when the whole 3D revolution was starting, and they realized, okay, um, this isn't the way games are going. Let's try our own 3D take on it. And it shows that they didn't quite know what they were doing yet because the first Crash Bandicoot game, like, just people say this all the time, but your biggest enemy is depth perception because like the camera is always like right there behind you, so you can't see like where you are in relation to other things. In fact, this is true during production, people jokingly called the game Sonic's ass game because like it's a game where the camera is like really close to Crash's ass the whole time. I'm not sure where the Sonic came from, but that's a true fact for you though. Sonic's ass game was the joking title of the game because of the camera angle.
But to be fair, like he's quicker than Mario, you'd say, Crash. But well, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I mean
I,
Sonic's quick. Sonic was always fast. I couldn't say Crash was known for his speed.
Maybe he can spin really fast
Maybe,
like
yeah.
Sonic can.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Crash is just sort of goes. To be fair, Crash sort of ambles, doesn't he? Like he doesn't really break a sweat. He's like, I'm gonna run at the same speed the whole time. That's
Well,
pretty much it.
he actually got the name Crash because of the fact that he just kind of crashes through things. I'm not kidding. That was how they named him.
Bloody inventive, can I just say?
Oh yes, very much so. Just cre creative geniuses at Naughty Dog.
I know, and like Spyro is called Spyro because he spies and rows like a boat.
Yeah, I think they're good. Well, we'll get to Spiral later, actually.
Yeah, we will. Well, yeah, because that's coming up soon. But so, like, I guess chronologically, it was the first three Crash games came out before the first three Spyros, I believe. Definitely the first
Almost.
two. The first two
The
did.
the yes, the
Yeah.
first Spyro game came out like a couple months before the third Crash game.
Ah, fair enough, fair enough. So they're basically they're similar. But yeah, like Crash was 96 and 98, and then Spyro was 98 to 2000. And I would
Yes.
say it definitely was a golden era for Sony in terms of um, platformers. Because those, again, I might be blindsided or I might be ignoring an obvious sort of trilogy or series, or franchise, but Spyro and Crash were for me like the main platformer series that were on Sony's on PlayStation. And again, like I say, it seemed to be the direct rival competition to Mario 64 or Mario, and well, I guess whatever Sonic game was on at the time, because Sonic started to sort of gradually die out or gradually decline after Sonic 3.
Yeah, well, I think that actually the original Sonic Adventure games are pretty well received, and that was probably around that time.
Sonic Adventure was 98, 99. No, hang on, Dreamcast. Oh, so
Oh,
I've got Wikipedia up. So yeah, Sonic Adventure I think was late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
98. Sonic Adventure.
Okay. All
And
right. So about the time the Crash Bandicoot was wrapping up.
yeah, to be fair, Sonic Adventure 2 I think were decent games. They just I don't think any Sonic game will ever have the acclaim that the original Sonics had. But I definitely think Adventure 2 is probably considered to be the best 3D Sonic.
It's one of those remembered ones. Okay. Anyways, though,
Yeah.
okay, right.
Tangents.
So yes. Okay. Naughty Dog made this game called, like, I think was it Way of the Warrior? I already forgot, on the 3DO. Universal saw that game. They liked it. They picked up Naughty Dog. It released. It did okay, but then after that, they created their own platforming mascots. They wanted to make an animal that hasn't really been used before, so they went with a bandicoot. And how about other? They were like weirdly into like Australian stuff. How about a bandicoot and another villain like who's like a crocodile and a dingo. Like they brought in dingoes and koalas.
Yeah.
Um,
They were
yeah. So sorry,
maybe they're trying to reach a new market.
maybe. But did Australia even have a game market back then? I don't know. Even though they're
No,
still like Australia is like heavily censored with games. Actually, weirdly enough.
which is really odd because everyone that lives in Australia is a twat. Banter.
Right.
So that's good. Sorry, there's a big history between us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you could say it's history between America and England too, but yes.
Yeah, but we're both in the same boat right now. Like
Yeah, indeed we
politically.
are. Anyways, let's before we get into that can of worms. But my thoughts on the first Crash Bandicoot game is that it was a very, very good first attempt, but in hindsight, it was very obviously a first attempt. The
Yes.
game was very janky, very floaty, very weird, and it had the fucking stupidest save system I've ever seen.
Well, we covered that a few weeks ago in our first one about all the saving systems. But
Yeah,
yeah, I know what
well,
you mean.
no, because like there is no save button. There's passwords actually if you want, but or a memory card. But the thing is though, you're allowed to save the game either. There's two ways to save the game. Either A, get a gem, which is really hard to do because you got to go through the whole level and break every box without dying a single time. Or B, there's like these boxes throughout the stages that give you these 3 tokens, and they're hidden. They're hidden everywhere. The question mark boxes. Question mark boxes can either
Yeah.
have like Wumper fruits, tokens, or maybe lives. Um, but there's 3 tokens. You can either get like a Tawna bonus room or a Brio or a Cortex bonus room. You have to find all 3 tokens, at which point you're transported to a bonus round, and you have one chance to go through that round, break as many boxes as you can, and not fall off the cliff or get blown up by TNT. And if you get to the end, and only if you get to the end, you earn the right to save your game.
Yeah, I know it's an interesting. I think Crash. So that's a good thing to explore. I mean, so firstly, it was sort of like it was a 3D thing, but it was limited in what it could do because, like you said, a lot of it was, left to right, up and down, or back to front. Like facing the camera or going against the camera. So it was 3D,
If
but like 2.5D ish as well. It was like
that wasn't that wasn't limitations. It's because it was their first time on a brand new console and they haven't found their groove yet.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. I don't know if it was limit. Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I said it was limitations, but it was. Yeah, so it was like. So if you think Mario 64 is like the stick to beat it with, or like is the comparison, like I say, I think you say both those games definitely haven't aged as well as they did back in the day. But yeah, I guess like Crash was innovative, enjoyable, but I definitely think what they were going for was difficulty. And I think
yes.
and I think we just like you've discussed that before when you think about talking to with your friend who told you to play DK64 and you said, "Oh, we'll play the Crash trilogy," that sort of thing. Crash definitely seemed to thrive off of difficulty, which is I think again that ties into the save system and how like it was weird. It was like, well, why is it a challenge to save my game? Like,
Yeah.
why are you doing that?
Well, here's the
Yeah.
dumb thing. You can't even save at the end of a level either. The save happens halfway through the level. So no matter what, like you can't just finish a level and stop. If you want to really like play the game ideally, you get halfway through the bonus level, save the game, and then put it down. And then the next time you pick it up again, you gotta play the first half of that level again. That's just
Yeah.
how it works. Or there's the gem save, which I kid you not, it saves the fact that you have a gem, but it does not save the fact that you've cleared the level. Like, swear to God, the first level in the entire game in Sandy Beach, if you want, you can. That's the first level where you can just run through it and get the gem on your first go. There's a lot of backtracking in the first game also, but the first game you can run through it, get a gem, and then turn the game off. And when you boot the game up again, it will show you have the gem for this level, but you got to replay the level, even though beating the level is a requirement to get the gem. So why the fuck? It's dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, in terms of difficulty, also, I learned this just from this history video. Apparently, according to this guy at least, he says that Crash Bandicoot was met with mostly positive critical reception, but some people complained it was too hard, actually,
Yeah. But
which checks out because the second and third games are quite a bit easier.
yeah, I think they definitely sort of compromised in that regard, or like they definitely accommodated for it. They're like, right, because the thing is as well, without like trying to go into it, like think back to our favorite game right now, Mario Bros. 2 Japan. Like there's been history in America of sort of, and even Europe, I guess to that extent too, of it's tricky to oversell difficult games, and there's not necessarily a market for it. I think there is now. You know, I think they're definitely
Yes.
as games have gaming technology and gaming what's the word I'm looking for? Just like game design um, is advancing and progressing. Yeah, there's more place for it now. But yeah, back in that day, it wasn't necessarily welcomed. So
Well,
I mean,
actually,
obviously, Crash was really it was well received, and it was a popular, really good start to a franchise. But yeah, it definitely had its flaws,
it's
and
kind of weird, actually. Sorry, go on.
no, I was pretty much just going to round off there. It just had its flaws, and you could probably tell like it was a good start. It definitely had like it wasn't a groundbreaking game, I'd say, but it was definitely a very good start to a good franchise, and it set the foundations, I think, for them to build off of and improve on.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. And the flaws are only obvious, like in hindsight. Like if Crash 1 was the only game that existed, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what's wrong with it because it's only by playing 2 and 3 that you realize like how much better they could be.
Yes.
So I could go on about difficulty, but we've already spent like 40 minutes on the first game of 2 full franchises we got to go through yet.
Yeah, so let's move ourselves on swiftly to Cortex Strikes Back.
Yep, Crash Bandicoot. Oh, one more fun little fact that I gotta say actually is the voice actors of that game. I found out recently that freaking Cortex is voiced by Clancy Brown, who most people know as Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh wow, I didn't actually
That's
know
a
that.
thing. That is a thing. Yes. Anyways. Right. So Crash Bandicoot 2 came out, and this was the game where they reworked the engine, made the controls a bit more smooth and refined, changed the physics a bit for how Crash moves. Yeah, effectively, like this was the game where they took the original kind of clunky format and upgraded it. They upgraded the game engine, the physics, the smoothness of it. Crash's moveset also was the first game where where the circle button was different from the square button. You could actually crouch and slide, which led to more platforming, and also a crouch or a slide jump made you jump higher as well.
Yeah.
Nitro crates were brand new. Body slam crates were brand new. Bonus rounds were brand new.
Yeah, it definitely. I feel like the second game in a lot of series really took what made the first game unique, special, like made it what the first game was really good, and built on it and made it like the right sized, perfect amount. I feel like the second game in a lot of franchises were the best. I think DKC 2 is definitely the best still. I think Spyro 2 is the best, and we'll come on to that one.
I
Probably,
was gonna say
I
actually,
probably argue Crash 2 is the best. Like IMO.
yeah, I was gonna say actually what you're saying right now about just like how the second game often just makes huge improvements on the first one. I say that constantly, and I often cite Crash and Spyro as examples, and this is why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, also saving. Just anytime in the hub world, you just walk over here, stare at this wall, boop. You want to save the game? Yes. Don't gotta do extra bullshit. Just it's there. You can do it.
Imagine only playing the first game and going, "What is this? And a save button? This is too easy. What are they doing?"
Yeah. Oh, also something I learned very recently. Crash Bandicoot. Actually, it might have been the first one, or maybe it was 2 or 3. But at some point in the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy, we got one of the very, very first few cases of adaptive difficulty, where the game gets easier if you're struggling without you even noticing it's doing it. I think I'll have to look this up later, but I'm pretty sure that like in those levels where you're running away from the snowball, if you every time you die, the snowball goes a little bit slower. That's
Huh.
just a thing that it's there to prevent you from getting too frustrated.
There's
And also, yeah, the one thing though is oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna say something about music.
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't mention anything about music. No,
Oh, I thought I heard you wrong then.
you're
But
not listening to me.
you can just well, that's because I'm not letting you fucking talk.
Well, it was the same last week, to be fair, and that's again why I think we're doing this podcast, and it's good to sort of have the two of us because whilst we've got a good game knowledge, we do have a differing game knowledge too, which really works, I think, because we can sort of bounce off each other. For sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Also, here's a funny thing. Apparently it was the Japanese audience that hated Crash's like more sexy girlfriend, and under their pressure, they changed it to Crash's more just regular sister Coco, which I find odd because I like fast forward like 15, 20, 25 years, I'm now getting slowly bigger and bigger into anime, which is like, hey, what if we made cartoons but like super fucking horny all the time? So I find it
Yeah,
weird that Japan was the one who's like, no, that's too much. Like, really?
I know. It's like, really,
Um,
now you're drawing a line?
yeah. But that was basically, yeah. That was, as you said, like the first game just kind of had a rough draft. The second game, by the way, came out a single year later. That's another recurring trend as Universal keep on saying, "Hey, next game out by Christmas. Come on."
Yeah.
That's a constant thing with Universal Interactive. But within a single year, yep, they took Crash, they reinvented him. Still box breaking, still there's still gems for you gotta break up every box. Oh, but the crystals, that was a new addition, just a single thing for clearing the level. And you actually can just not collect the crystal, and then the level doesn't count.
Yeah.
which which is kind of a superfluous choice. Really, doesn't make much of a difference. But there's at least a plot wise reason to go through the levels now. You got to collect the crystals to. Well, Cortex says it's to power this thing which will save the world, and Crash just buys it because he's a dumbass. So he helps Cortex.
Well, he was literally designed practically, wasn't he? So.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. He is a complete idiot. Yes.
So I mean, when you create someone, you can program them to be as stupid or as smart as you want, unless of course you're
Like,
William Frankenstein. But
I completely glossed over that. Yeah, the freaking Crash was created because he was a failed experiment of Cortex. That's right.
yeah, and then
Which is a funny
and
thing.
yeah, so it is sort of like a Frankenstein-inspired thing, slightly, possibly.
Yeah, slightly. Well, I think no, Cortex just has a bunch of like animal minions he wants to mutate in order to take over the world, and most of them are successful. Or I don't know, maybe he made Tiny Tiger and Dingodile. I don't fucking know actually, but he had kind of like Robotnik. He had these science experiments. He had minions, and Crash was a failed experiment who broke out. And you see that in the first game. If you don't press start for like 2 minutes, then you get the little cutscene that plays
Yeah,
before the Insane Trilogy wisely decided to actually have that play when you boot up a new game.
yeah, it's like here you go, let's introduce you to plot now rather than by chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than just a thing that you, a thing that you just get to see if you didn't hit start, or if you open up the instruction manual, you can read the plot there.
Yeah, because that sort of thing is sort of designed for Easter eggs, like if you think like in Mario World when you stay in a special world for too long and it goes da 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 like it changes the music. That's the sort of thing you
Yeah,
design for Easter eggs, not for actual canonicity.
right. But yeah, that's Crash's backstory, and yeah, Crash 2. Not much else to say. It's Crash again, but he has a slightly upgraded moveset, a significant tweak to the controls, to the movement, to the character models as well. Crash looks better in the second game. Like this is when the guys at Naughty Dog like said, okay, we've now worked with the PlayStation once, let's really push it, and then they tweaked it some more.
Yeah.
And we got Crash Bandicoot 2, which interestingly though, oh, I also forgot to mention Crash Bandicoot 2. The plot literally begins like the second the first game ends. Like the first game, like you see like Cortex's giant ship blowing up, and you hear him fall out of the sky, just going, bruh. And then the second game begins with like that explosion and the exact same soundbite. Even it's consistent, and then he crashes through the floor, sees the crystals, and just instantly knows these will give me power.
Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, and I mean it's just it's quite good that they sort of kept it chronological and then as if like because there are some games that feel like they just go, this is completely different from what you're used to, but no, it's literally a continuation in terms of plot. It's a continuation in terms of, well, it's a relative continuation in terms of gameplay and mechanics. But again, like I've said, they added more to it, sort of honed it. It seems like.
Yeah, it's an evolution, not a full change. They just took what they had and made it all better.
Yeah, we'll probably discuss bad change later on.
Oh yes. So that brings
um,
us to sorry.
Shall we discuss Crash 3 before we move on to Spyro? Because I'll say Crash 3 like I said, Spyro 1 came out just before Crash 3, but since we're talking about the Crash series, trilogy,
Yeah,
let's talk
sure.
about 3 before we move on to Spyro.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. So yeah, Crash Bandicoot 3 came out a single year later. Pretty much did all Crash Bandicoot 2 stuff, but added more things. You can play as Coco. There's sections where Coco like gets like right along the back of a little tiger. which is consistent across all 3 games. The Crash 1 had a warthog, Crash 2 had a baby polar bear, Crash 3 is Coco with a tiger named Purah. And she has a jet ski levels, which are fun.
Yeah.
Outside of that, oh, you also get a power up after every boss you clear. You get a new move to Crash's movesets, which is pretty cool. Also hadn't been done before.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's all that's really that new though, except the basic form. Yeah, I was gonna get to the relics. Yes, but also that the basic format of the game involves you going through time. So the levels have a lot more variety. Like you go through like ancient pyramids and the time of the dinosaurs, medieval times. That was a neat gimmick. Oh, also underwater stages was also a new thing. Okay, but aside from that, yes, the next really big change is the relics, where at the start of every level you touch this little clock. Only on your second playthrough. The first playthrough, the clock isn't there. When you go through it for the second time, though, the clock is there, and when you hit the clock, suddenly it changes into the time trial mode, where a lot of the boxes change into the boxes contain either A, nothing at all, or B, they're a new special time crate, which will stop the clock for either 1, 2, or 3 seconds, and they're clearly labeled in the boxes as well. What time was on there. Also, as soon as you touch the clock, Aku Aku, if you have him, disappears.
Yeah.
So it's like really, it's like extra super hard mode, and any stage that involves just Crash running around, it's like the vast majority of the stages. Like obviously, underwater stages are exceptions, Coco's levels are exceptions, but any stage that just has Crash like walking around, doing things, jumping, you cannot even get like the gold or platinum relics without beating the game first and getting the Crash Dash move. Otherwise, you can get Sapphire at best.
Yeah.
And Sapphire relics are useless. Like you need to. Well, no, not useless. Because Sapphire relics will unlock you more levels. Once you get 5, there's a certain platform that appears. You go down there, and there's bonus levels. And for every 5 you collect, you get another level unlocked. Aside from that, though, you need to collect every single gold relic in the game in order to get the secret ending, which is a thing, actually.
Yes. Another thing that was a bit different. Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, the platinum relics are pointless, though. Don't bother.
Yeah.
Unless you want to freaking pull your hair out from anger.
I did think it was cool that they added time trials. Like, it can be obnoxious and tricky, but in a way, I sort of liked it because it could have been like a potential sort of, oh look, speedrunny type thing. You know, obviously not speedruns were a thing back then, but you know, like there were, you know, people were always thinking about, oh, how can I complete this level the fastest, or how can I beat this game the fastest? I know many people are all still trying to do like Mario Kart 64 things. GoldenEye was a very popular one for like, oh, who can beat this level the quickest? Like even before speedruns were popularized by the internet, there were websites where people would log scores on, you know, like, oh, I beat this level this quickly. It was really cool that Crash 3 sort of had an embedded system like, in-game where it was like, well, like it was a requirement, you know, or 100%. It's a requirement. Like, oh, here's a relic. Like, if you do this level at a certain time, you get a relic. So it was sort of like encouragement. Again, it was good that it added new things because game series like that, you know, whilst you don't want to change it to make it too wildly different from the original games, you also like to keep it fresh. And it was a nice fresh mechanic, mildly irritating at times. Like you said, but it sort of had the appropriate amount of challenge to the sense where it was a good implementation, I think.
Yeah, and truth be told, I actually haven't played the original Crash trilogy in a very long time. But as far as extra challenge goes, the Insane trilogy is fucking brutal. Like, as in, like, it's the single most painful thing I've ever done in a game, possibly. But yes, and I've seen some people actually debate about whether or not the time trials were like a fun new challenge or just padding, and that's debatable. But I think that it's a fun new challenge.
Yeah, I mean everyone will have different of opinion on these things, but I think Crash 3 sold better than Crash 2 from what I remember looking up. So clearly it was really well received.
Yes. Oh, yes. Very, very much so. I think that was the most well received game in Crash's entire history. Like that was that was the peak right there.
Yeah, pretty much. and again parallels to what we're going to look at in a bit, pretty much.
Yeah. At that point, basically, like, yeah, Crash had everything figured out. Like, Crash 1 was a rough draft. 2 completely overhauled everything. Like, kept the controls the same, but aside from that, just kind of changed a lot. Then 3 kind of just built off of that, added a few more things, which also became staples. And then, yes, at that point, Naughty Dog's 3 game contract ran out. So
So
I think actually,
didn't he make Crash Team Racing?
they did.
Yeah,
According to this history video I watched, though, he made it sound like they didn't have to make that one, but they just did.
yeah,
Like, they had to make 3 games under contract, but they're like, hey, we want to make this fourth one though as well, as like just a little bonus thing.
yeah.
But
Because
we'll get
yeah, we'll come on to them in a bit, I think, because
yes,
we'll go to another our other hero.
indeed.
This guy was not an Australian invention gone wrong or whatever. He was just a purple dragon with wings
Yep.
who could
Okay,
talk and was sassy.
so yes, now that we've talked about Crash Bandicoot Warp, we're gonna rewind like just a couple months and talk about the first
Yeah.
Spyro game. By the way, the Spyro the Dragon, the very first game, there's a hidden demo in Crash Bandicoot Warp if you put in the Konami code at the start screen. So, fun fact.
The more you know.
Spyro the Dragon, though, yeah, because they're both owned by Universal Interactive, which is another theme you'll see. So the first Spyro, actually, Insomniac in general, it like started out with a very, very, very small team, as game companies often do. I know a bit more about this because the gaming historian was much more in depth with the start of this series. So, Insomniac made this game. Also, they're actually, true fact, their very, very, very first game was this sort of Doom clone on the 3DO. And then their second game was the first Spyro the Dragon.
Not bad.
So, yeah, really not bad at all. But they made this game on the 3DO, which was fairly well received, but like no one bought it though because the 3DO, like, what even is that?
I have no clue. I need to look it up.
And I gotta be honest, I don't remember what got Universal Interactive to check out Insomniac. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was that first game. I don't remember anymore. But anyways, so they wanted again. It was partially because of like pressure from Sony and Universal, but I think also Universal or Insomniac was happy to do this. They ended up making their own platform mascot for themselves. There was a lot of different like things that they were trying to figure out. I think originally it was a game about aliens. Actually, that was one of their first original ideas. Then that got scrapped at some point because someone else I think it was just like some random guy on the team like really, really liked dragons and wanted to make a game about dragons. And at some point that kind of started to catch on. So then they started to design Spyro. I think he went through many, many redesigns as well. First he was a much more kind of like realistic, bigger dragon, and people said like this won't work for a platformer game. We got to make him smaller.
Yeah.
So that turned into Spyro being a little kid dragon. He was also supposed to be green originally, and then as they played through the games, a lot of the games you're running along green grass, and they thought, okay, this kind of blends. He kind of blends in with the environment. This isn't good. Went through many redesigns and eventually came out purple. That stuck. When they wanted to name him, they went through. Oh, this was funny actually. The first name for Spyro was just Pete.
God, Pete's dragon.
Exactly, yes. As soon as they said Pete, because they weren't aware of that actually, but as soon as they said his name was Pete, I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. Sure enough, the next thing happens is Universal comes knocking saying, hey, no, you see, this company called Disney owns this movie called Pete's Dragon. Don't do this. I don't want to fight Disney this time. They're like, okay. And I think they wanted to name him Pyro, but then that seemed a little kind of too silly. And then eventually someone said Spyro, and then that stuck. So another cool thing about Spyro the Dragon, it was actually, I'm not sure where it is like in a timeline with Banjo-Kazooie or other games of that era, but on the PlayStation though, it was like just kind of like full stop the first like big open world collecting exploring game. Like no one had seen that before in the PlayStation. And one of the revolutionary thing that they did back then was they made one of the very, very few 3D games where there's no fog for render distance. You know, because oftentimes with games of that time, you can only see a certain distance ahead before everything just kind of disappears. Things pop in. They often call it like this fog for rendering things. But one of the 2 or 3 founding members of Insomniac was a programming genius who came up with a never before seen engine where There is no fog. Everything that you can see is always there. It's rendered, but from very, very far distances, the object is rendered at a much, much lower polygon count. And then as you get closer, the model itself increases the polygon count until you're right there and you can see it fully rendered.
Yeah.
So straight up, like the model itself is lower quality until you get closer to it. So that was a new thing.
Yeah, sort of like the draw distance type thing. Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so like Spyro, Banjo are both
Yeah, sorry,
98.
I just talked about a whole lot there, so it's your turn now.
Yeah, Spyro and Banjo are both 98. And I think we discussed sort of a little bit last episode when we discussed DK64 about
Yeah.
sort of those collectathons. And we sort of said Banjo and Spyro are pretty much the pioneers, if you will. Well, I think Banjo was, but then Spyro was definitely PlayStation's pioneer because Crash was a lot more, like I say, fast
Very,
paced.
very, very, very linear.
Yeah, it was linear, sort of like completion, start to finish, get to the end, that sort of thing. And I say fast paced in quote marks. I think Spyro is quicker than Crash, but you get what I'm saying. You probably complete a level quicker in Crash than you would in Spyro.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, Spyro 1. Do you know what, right? I think Crash is probably received slightly better than Spyro, I think. And I think Crash is considered a bit more popular than Spyro, but I always preferred Spyro more than Crash. And I think it was just sort of the personality of the game. Like you said, it was definitely like Spyro was this sassy, cool character. He had, even though he didn't look like a hero, because he was small and all that, he was cute, but he also had that sassy, confident, cocky side that was like, oh, where's Nasty Nork? I'll torch him, and all that sort of thing.
The friggin' OG Spyro. Oh, yes, very much so.
And, yeah, OG Spyro, again. That's what we're talking about right now, but we'll probably get on to further Spyros later.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, also known as mistakes. But, yeah, so, no, but, like, the first Spyro, history. My turn to go off on a bit of a tangent.
Sure.
I was a Nintendo child pretty much as a kid, so I'd never really played Spyro or Crash as a child. I did obviously play them when I grew up. Funnily enough, my first Spyro games I owned were the first games of the series I owned was Enter the Dragonfly and Wrath of Cortex because they were both on GameCube. But I guess as a 7-8-year-old, I didn't really like bother me that much. You know, you don't really too bothered by load screens and this is a big world, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, when I was like fucking 8, I too thought Enter the Dragonfly was good.
Exactly. But I played Spyro 1, Spyro 1, and I vividly remember it because I had the guys shaking their ass in a Peacekeepers, isn't it? No.
Yeah, Peacekeepers.
Yeah, Peacekeepers it is. So I always get those worlds mixed up because they're all like they're similarly named except for Artisans. But like,
yeah.
But like anyway, so I remember playing Spyro 1 first round my friend's house. Like I had a sleepover at his and we played Spyro. And I played a lot as a kid, a lot of the time Mario 64, Banjo, all those games. Funny enough, I introduced him to I made him get a 64 not too long after that, so at least that was sort of cool. I mean, I wish I got a PlayStation myself because it would have been cool to play. But yeah, I just sort of fell in love with the game. And I guess as a child, I was very into like sort of what I considered cute things. Like Yoshi was, and still is, my favorite video game character, just because of how adorable he is. But I always thought Spyro, because he was, I guess, because he wasn't a human, he is cute in a sense. Like not as cute in like the oh my god, but like he was a dragon.
Yeah.
He was small. He was kick-ass. He was sort of cute in a way. But like, it was
there definitely is a big childlike appeal to getting to play as a freaking dragon who is saving all the adults.
Hang on, or to quote Fluttershy, a baby dragon. But
no, not baby dragon. That comes later.
But yeah, Spyro. That's sort of my history. Was never a Sony child, but Spyro was the first game I played, so I do have a soft spot for it. But I to be fair, the game is almost made for me in a sense. Like if you enjoy Banjo-Kazooie, and you enjoy DK64, not that it's as ostentatious as that game, you'll enjoy Spyro. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I would say that. The only thing is that Spyro 1 is also very, very basic in design. Like the later games, I will say that I won't even argue that. I'll say absolutely for sure.
Yeah,
First game was once again same as Crash's first game, just getting its bearings. Like literally, you run around and there's just a very arbitrary goal. Like, hey, the balloonist says you gotta rescue 10 dragons to go to the next world. The second balloonist says, hey, now I need 1,200 gems. Third dragon says, hey, I need 5 eggs now. I think
yeah,
it's five.
5 eggs. Yeah,
And that's all you do. You just go into a level. Hell, there you don't even there's 2 points in the entire game where you ever actually need to get to the end of a level. Otherwise, it's just hey, get as much shit as you can and then get out. Like that. That's it.
yeah, and it's the thing is though, a lot of games had that though, because again, think Mario 64, there were like, oh, you need 8 stars to fight the first Bowser. You need 70 stars
Yeah,
to get up the
yeah,
staircase. Banjo-Kazooie had that with the note doors. So, like, requirements were never a new thing at that point, considering that the 3D era was like, what, 2, 3 years old at this time. So, I guess it is a mild criticism, but I don't think it's one that, like, if you're going to make that criticism, then you have to criticize Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, etc.
yeah.
So,
Oh, I'm not saying that format is a bad thing. I'm just saying that it was very very basic.
yeah, no, I get that. In a way, that's sort of made it not linear, well, not linear is the word, but reductionist? I don't know, or maybe
I'd say that Spyro's 2 and 3 got actually more linear than the first one. The first one
yeah,
was
I
like
would say so. Yeah.
just drops you into a world and says pick a direction, go find shit.
Boop, 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 boop. Oh, here I am.
Uh,
Yeah,
I also freaking Spyro's music is one of the small handful of music composers who I know by name. Stuart Copeland, great work.
Stuart Copeland. Yeah, I sort of yeah. There's only a few: Copeland, Kondo, David Wise, and Grant Kirkhope. They're like the main ones for me.
Yeah, for me it's yeah. Oh,
Oh, and
actually, you know,
Toby Fox,
I know who Kondo is actually.
Koji Kondo. He made Mario
Yeah,
64 to me. He's pretty much a main composer for Nintendo, like Mario, Zelda, Bomberman.
really.
Yeah,
Okay, shit,
and
I
and
never knew that one.
and Bomberman's got bloody good music. That's why I said Bomberman.
Okay,
Another tangent, a little bit of a tangent, but yeah.
all right. And anyways,
Anyhow,
meh. But yeah, that was Spyro 1, but pretty basic, simple game. Well received, well liked,
but effective, and
but effective.
and again, it sort of spawned what I would consider the superior game in the franchise. You don't know if you agree or not. Again, Spyro 2.
Eh, ooh, that's tricky. That's tricky. And I'll say why after we're done talking about Spyros 2 and 3. I'll get back to that. But
Spyro 2. Gateway to Glimmer for me, Ripto's Rage for everyone else.
yes, indeed. And funny thing about Ripto's Rage is that on the box art for the first Spyro the Dragon game in Japan, the Japanese characters, like obviously they're just Japanese characters, but it kind of looked like it spelled out the word Ripto, and people kind of thought that was kind of cool. So they just sure, let's name the next villain that, and so they did.
Yeah.
So
Oh, excuse me.
Spyro 2, you're excused.
Thank
Spyro
you.
2, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, or Gateway to Glimmer, whatever one it
Which
is.
is called
That was a
Ripto's Rage.
game. Yeah, sure. That game. Once again, just 1 year to make it. Got to be out by the holiday season, and they pulled it off. As is the case with Crash Bandicoot. Again, it's going to be a recurring theme here with Crash Bandicoot. Similarly, Spyro 2 was the game where they just kind of overhauled everything. They made a lot of changes. There was autosave whenever you enter or exit a level, instead of just you gotta go freaking find a dragon statue and talk to the fairy. Checkpoints also were done by fairies throughout the level rather than having to find a dragon statue again. There were cutscenes, much more of them, and NPCs to talk to, including stable characters like Hunter, Moneybags.
Yeah, that douchebag.
Yes, indeed.
Douchebag.
I also have to say, I got a little kind of point this out here, that Spyro Ripto's Rage is possibly the single biggest case of cut content, or the most obvious case of cut content I've ever seen. Because at some point I kind of questioned, I'm like, why is Spyro 2, why are the worlds like there's a summer world and an autumn world and a winter world, but not a spring world? Well, surprise, surprise, they wanted a spring world, but they had 1 year to cobble the whole game together. So that was cut, obviously. What else was new? Because there was more cutscenes, there was NPCs. Oh, their new approach to collectibles. It wasn't simply a matter of like, oh hey, collect all this shit just to finish the game. Instead, each level has talismans,
Yes.
and every level did something similar to this. Like this was the one game where it was an actual item, but the later games also had like an actual plot-wise reason why you actually need to get to the end of levels now, starting with Spyro 2.
Yeah.
So there was that, and there were orbs, which was another new thing for Spyro. They threw in some mini games to collect orbs, and you got to collect a certain number of those to finish the game as well. There's just once in a while just these kind of like walls that block you off. Professor needs 8 orbs to unjam this door for some reason. Sure, okay. Um, so there's those that are happening. I think there's one more. Oh, also just gems. Yeah. So really, it was just gems, orbs, and talismans, which were new. One thing that stuck with me though, I thought this was way funny when I heard this after our DK64 podcast. One thing that the gaming historian mentioned, and I'm saying this almost exactly, is he said one thing that Insomniac was puzzling about is how much collectibles were too much. So, and then he went on to say that like each level had like 2 or 3 orbs you could just kind of find if you wanted to, and a regular amount of gems. I find that funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
They put thought into whether or not, hey, will this be annoying to do?
Yeah,
Mm,
DK64 just never caught on to that, did they?
nope, not at all.
They didn't receive the memo. That's what it was.
Yeah, it didn't receive the memo of like, hey, don't go too far into this.
It's like,
Calm
hey,
down.
look, 1,000 collectibles might be too much. Nah, it's fine. But
Yeah, it's also the only game where there's no like bonus level for getting everything. You get a cool reward though, like infinite flame, and oh, that's another new thing is they incorporate power ups: super flame, super fire breath, super flight, invincibility, supercharge. Well, supercharge was in the first game. It
yeah,
was very different in that though.
yes, yeah, treetops.
Yes.
But no, yeah, I don't know. I think Spyro 2, like you said, it introduced a lot of household names that Spyro fans are accustomed to or are accustomed to now. Um, and yeah, I just feel like the levels were so yeah. I mean, if you ignore the spring sort of yeah, I get that. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of things like that, like development things that it'll be interesting to know why they weren't in the game or why they were, because there's always like differing reasons, differing theories, that sort of thing. Because like some like things like oh, I think Fungi Forest was meant to be in Banjo-Kazooie, and then it got pushed by DK64, albeit
Yeah.
rare games, so I guess you could do that if it's the same company. But I mean, I really like level design in Spyro 2. I mean, I prefer it a little bit more than one. Um,
Oh, it's much better than one.
and yeah, like I said, I mean the talismans and the orbs. It was like for me, it's I guess similar to Crash 3 with the relics. Although again, it's a different premise because it's not a time trial. But it's sort of cool that they are adding more things to keep it fresh per se. I mean,
Yes.
they dropped the eggs,
Yeah.
but
For
they
now.
replaced
For
them with
now.
yeah, I know, but they replaced them with talismans and orbs. But then you could argue though that maybe it wasn't well received because if the eggs returned, the argument is that well maybe they didn't want maybe they
Nah, it
missed the eggs, that sort of thing. But
nah, it's not really about like what the item is, whether it's orbs or eggs. It's more about like kind of what they represented. And like the eggs were kind of a pointless thing in the first Spyro game.
yeah, it was
Like
sort of like an extra. It was a little bit
you,
superfluous.
you got to collect 5 to get from World 3 to World 4, and then they don't matter ever again.
No, yeah,
Unless you want to get 100%. That's it though.
yeah. Shout out to me.
Oh, but I think one thing I'll say though, in direct comparison to like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that, Spyro 2, I think is the superior game because there's 2 big reasons why. One, or not Banjo-Kazooie, I guess more like DK64. One, underwater is not a pain in the ass because Spyro can charge underwater, which I think people constantly like just don't think about how much better that makes the game. You can swim fast, and there's no breath meter also, which most 3D games you had limited breath. But here it's like, hey, go into the water. We'll make it fun. We'll make it fast and fluid, and not suck, which was crazy. Like that they did that. And the
Yeah.
second thing is that Spyro 2, uh, most of the orbs involved mini games, and the mini games were very rarely obnoxious and made you want to quit. Like compared to, I'd say, N64, like freaking, especially DK64 games, like where some of those were really bad.
Beaver
Spyro 2,
brother.
Spyro 2, like, oh, it had the trolley mini game. That was about it. That was the one that like fans like will just remember as being annoying. That's about
Yeah.
it though. Like the rest of them, yeah.
Yeah, because like even if you think of like a DKC3, like some of those mini games, like the green banana mini games sucked because like they were RNG. Um,
Yeah.
and like yeah, I'm trying to think what other mini games were there? Like what were them? Like okay, if I think like we're gonna come onto it later, but Enter the Dragonfly, some of them sucked.
Hmm.
But like,
Oh my god, yes.
but yeah, Spyro 2 definitely. No, I would not disagree with your statement.
It's really easy. It's really easy also to like fuck up mini games. Like I feel like those are more often than not like the one thing where people find to be really annoying or really cool, give or take one or the other. Yeah, but that's basically Spyro 2 though. Again, like Crash took the original game, expanded upon it greatly, made a lot of fixes to the core gameplay. Also gave Spyro a hover move. Again, kind of like Crash, we got a slightly expanded move set. Spyro got that too. Oh, and a new move across each world as well. That was neat.
Yeah,
Open up some backtracking also, unlike the first game, which I'm kind of split on. I kind of liked how in the first game you could just go from one level to the next, just nonstop, and just keep on smoothly going through the whole thing in one go. But it was kind of neat that like there's certain things that's like, hey, you got to come back with the head bash move. All right, keep that in mind and come back later.
yeah, because it's like it's that argument between like backtracking or and
Y-
linear, and it's excessively backtracking. I think is the obnoxious thing. If there's instances where backtracking is necessary, or it's like, oh, to do this, you have to get something from later on. It's like, oh, fair enough. Or at least they're sort of thinking, again, it's a 3D game. You know, you've got the at. I mean, you probably argue that it's not new anymore when Time Sparrow 2 came
Yeah,
out, but it was
no.
still in the like, it was still newish, and it was like, you know, it's a 3D game. Explore. There's lots of many new open worlds you can explore. So go and do it. And yeah, I think there is that line between excessively backtracking, which again, where I think we touched on in DK64,
Hmm.
and being linear, which you say Spyro 1 is like, but
No, because Spyro 2, the backtracking was like literally just two things. Like, hey,
yeah,
there's like I think there's literally one level in the first world where you got to come back with climbing. No, I think there's a few actually, because there's a mini game in the Sunny Beach level with the turtle soup. Which okay, actually, you want to talk about shit mini games? That was pretty shit. But um, got to climb up a ladder in Sunny Beach, and I think that's I can't remember what else there was. A few places in the hub world. Not a whole lot though. You never even need a head bash ever in World One,
no,
and then World Two gives you like a few things where it's like you got to come back with a head bash move for the level with the little hippo kids, and the one dumb one was in Fractured Hills where you need to you'll do a whole entire really fucking stupid escort mission with Hunter or not Hunter, the alchemist, who will just walk in one direction, then just decide, whoop, I'm gonna change it up and go over here now. So you can't figure out where the fuck he's going. And then after you go through that really annoying mission, it says, hey, come back with head bash. Then you come back with head bash, and you gotta do the first mission again.
yeah,
that that was dumb. But aside from that, though, like literally, like each world had like one or two levels where it's like, hey, come back with this one thing, and then that was it. So backtracking was not that bad, really.
no,
But I'm not sure what else to even say, really. That's basically it. Yeah, again, Spyro 1, basic simple. Spyro 2 made all the changes and made Spyro what it is now. Even like down to like the designs and shapes of the gems, that was changed too. Like Spyro 1, kind of all gems look the same, and some like the blue gem turned into the purple gem, and it went from being regular shaped to square shaped. Little things like that.
can I just say thank you? The blue gem turned to a purple gem. The amount of arguments I had about that. It's bloody blue in the first game, and it's purple in the second one.
Really, people argue with you on that? That's dumb because it was blue.
Well,
What the fuck?
yeah, she did, but I don't go with her anymore. Oh,
All right.
Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon.
Yeah,
which
indeed.
which I need to double check. Was it actually released in the Year of the Dragon?
It was, yes.
Oh, bloody great! Things you love
And-
to hear.
Yep, and that was one thing I remember. Like the gaming historian video said that the name of the game was a no-brainer because they discovered that, and they're like, it's perfect. So
Yeah.
hell, they even freaking reused. Actually, hold the fuck up. I need to find one more thing real quick.
Okay. I will do that.
Because just the fact that this game was, I think the game is also set in the Year of the Dragon. If that's what it says, like in like the title card. There's another Spyro game that's also set in the Year of the Dragon, and now I'm looking it up. Released in 2006.
Yep. Spyro and his kin are celebrating the Year of the Dragon. An event occurs every 12 years when new dragon eggs are brought to the realm. During the celebration, however, Bianca invades the dragon realms with an army of rhino-based creatures called Rhinox and steals all of the dragon eggs.
Exactly. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I Wikipedia'd the plot.
Okay. No. Every 12 years, so not the case.
Oh, in
Because
real
freaking-
life, yeah, it's every 12 years. Yeah, 2012 was last Year of the Dragon.
Because the freaking Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning also was set in the Year of the Dragon, and I just checked 2006. Oh well. Anyways, though. But yes, the plot of that one though, as you said, there's like a bunch of dragons being born, and then this like rabbit character named Bianca pops out of this hole up with a bunch of Rhinoc minions and takes them to the other side of the world. Bianca, by the way, voiced by Pamela Hayden, who
Oh yeah.
does a lot of Simpsons characters, including Milhouse, Jimbo Jones, and Ned Flanders' son Rod. Another fun voice actor fact.
Bountiful penis.
Anyways, it's so weird that she also voices like just a character in a kid's Spyro game.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it back to the other side of the world. They have the big boss there. The sorceress wants to use the eggs to just drive away. What the fuck? What did she say her plan was? I think it was just to bring, no, it was to bring magic back to the world. That was it. The sorcerer said that her plan was to bring back these dragons to a world by force in order to bring back the magic to the world. And
Something like that, yeah. That sounds.
so a Spyro, yeah, I'm sorry.
That sounds about right because of how weird it is. Yeah.
So with Spyro 3 though, like there was more of it was basically Spyro 2 again, but with a couple changes. There's no talismans, but you still need to get to the end of every level in order to free some character at the end who will then operate the machine to take you to the next world. So that was how they formatted that one.
Yeah.
So they removed the collectible, but the thing was still there. You got to finish the level,
Yeah.
and also collect as many gems and eggs along the way as you can.
Yeah, the eggs returned in this one. So
Yep. Well, the eggs are completely different from the previous game, like
Yeah,
the
'cause
the first game.
there's like 100 of them, isn't there? Yeah. It's like
I think there is. Yeah.
There's, well, I can't remember. See, Spyro 3 is one I haven't played as much. But I do know. I definitely know there's 100 because I've seen like 100 egg speed runs. But I don't know if that's exactly 100% or if that's just the prerequisite amount required.
Oh, one
Yeah.
shit. One thing I completely forgot to mention, that I want to mention in Spyro 2, actually. It's a small thing though. Is that Spyro got recast between the first and second games because apparently some people complained that Spyro was kind of too obnoxious and edgy in the first game. It wasn't even just his voice; it was his personality.
Shit.
People thought like Spyro's trying too hard to be a cool kid, and it's kind of cringe. Not gonna lie. They said okay. So second game moving forward, they recast Spyro as Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob. Also Clancy Brown voices a lot of characters in Spyro 1. Also, fun fact. Yeah, recast Spyro, redid his personality. Anyways, I forgot to mention that part from Spyro 2. On to Spyro 3 though.
Where's
yeah, basically-
Nasty Nork? I'm going after him.
Funny
Too
thing,
edgy.
and I'll keep this brief. I actually think that Tom Kenny in the remastered version was very miscast for Spyro 1's Spyro because he sounded too nice and it didn't go with like the lines in the first game.
Where's Nasty
As-
Nork? I'm going after him because he's a bad boy.
Yeah, but like he sounds like more like a little kid, like all energetic. Like, where's Nancy Nork? I'm gonna get him. Like,
Yeah.
he sounds like just more like we're gonna go out and have some fun.
Like Scrappy Doo. Let me at him! Let me at him!
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can say what you want about Spyro 1's voice, but Tom Kenny was kind of recast for that, or miscast for that.
Yeah.
Anywho, back to Spyro 3 for like the third time I've said that sentence in under a minute. um, Pretty similar game. You go through the world, gotta get to the end, collect gems and dragon eggs. By the way, gems are effectively the same function in both Spyros 2 and 3. The one reason you need them is because money bags is just everywhere, and sometimes it's like, oh, here's a bonus level, like here's a speedway, which I'll open for you if you give me gems. Other times it's like just solid roadblocks, like, hey, pay me money to learn this new move, which you need to move forward. Or that's the second game is he paid you had to pay money in Spyro 2 to learn new moves, which you couldn't proceed without. Or in Spyros 2 and 3, he's just in the middle of the level saying, hey, you can't get through until you give me more gems.
Yeah.
That's what gems were. Dragon eggs, you need a certain number of them to open up some of the levels. Like every single world had like 2 levels that were free, and then 2 levels where you had to have a certain number of eggs to open. So that was how that functioned.
Yeah.
Oh, Spyro 3 also had new characters. Like every once in a while, you'd get to an area where, and that was their way of backtracking in this game, was that there's certain levels that had a character you didn't have yet. But yeah, you have Sheila the Kangaroo, Sergeant Bird, Bentley, and Agent 9. Oh, also Sparks. There's a Sparks level, which you have to go back to at the start once you finish the worlds.
Yeah, I was about to say. Didn't it have the
Top-down shooter
Sparks
game.
level? Yeah.
Also, Sparks talks to you in the first time in the history of the games. When you enter the speedway levels, yep, he makes those little buzzing noises and talks to you.
Yeah.
That was kind of neat.
Yeah. the Navi effect, we call that.
Yeah, basically. But I think the biggest thing about Spyro 3 for me that I really kind of remember the most is how it has a surprisingly much better story than the first 2 games. Because like, well, first of all, the fact that like what I mentioned earlier about like, oh, the sorceress wants to bring back the magic because magic was all dried up. That was something that like Sheila tells you like when you first rescue her. It's like, yeah, this place used to be full of magic, and the dragons left, they went away. Like now there's even like certain things that used to work that just don't work anymore. Spyro's like, oh, that's why the portals don't work. Like it's kind of smart. And then also like Bianca has a very slow redemption throughout the whole game, which was pretty surprising for a Spyro game.
Yeah, because
and also
she's a good character, or like she sort of hooks up with Hunter, doesn't she?
That too, yes. Which is funny because freaking Hunter just falls in love with her when she attacks him. As a kid, I actually thought that like Bianca's like magic spells what made him fall in love with him. Like when she hit him, that magic did something to him. Now later, I'm like, nah, I think that like freaking she attacked him, and Hunter's like, oh, that's hot, I guess. I don't know.
I'm into that.
And Spyro like being like still like a little kind of kid character is at the end appropriately just like, ew, love. I thought that was cute too.
Yeah.
I also think that the Reignite trilogy really kind of fucked up Bianca because whoever did her voice in the remastered version just read the lines and that was it. Like, I think because she kind of has the same tone of voice the whole game compared to the original game. When you first meet Bianca, she's like really like in your face, like, okay, listen here, you little twerp, you need to leave right now, or I swear to God, we will fucking kill you. Second game, she's still kind of like that same edge to her, but she ends it with, I'm saying this for your own good, Third time, she's like a little nicer, like, hey, Spyro, like she's actually kind of like begging him, like, Spyro, please, I know you want to do this, but dragons will be safe with me, and I don't want you to get hurt. Please leave.
It's that sort of like mildly sort of patronizing tone. It's for your best, and yeah, that's the thing though as well. It's like when it is literally a redux of a game. So it was like, it's tricky because you've got like you want to stay true to the original thing, but the original game, but ultimately, there are things that may not hold up, especially when you're, when you've actually got the better graphics, the better,
Yeah.
and especially as well that in Spyro's case, when you like again go back to the Spyro voice actor, when you actually change voice actor because of like a sort of a slight change in the character's persona or like the way he actually conducts himself, to keep that voice actor when you're revisiting the first game. It's sort of like it's a very small complaint, if anything, but it's a minor oversight because it's like, yeah, his character doesn't suit, like the way he voices the character doesn't suit Spyro, and then like in his first game, like it did in the second or third, and it's sort of the same with Bianca, I guess. in the Reignited trilogy.
I actually, I'm not even saying like, oh, like you need to freaking bring back the original voice actor. I didn't say that because like, yeah, Spyro 1's like the voice itself, I didn't like either. No one liked that original voice, but you could have just had a voice director give proper direction to Tom Kenny and say, okay, for just this one game, be a little edgier, like you're like you're a different version of Spyro, and then he's the old version like that you played before in the next two games, but just this one be a little different, you know. Whereas I'm not sure if I'm not sure if she was recast or if it was the same exact voice actor. I don't really know. Actually, no, I think freaking Pamela Hayden's page is still here. Hold up. Um,
It's like, can you please be fluent in SAS?
Actually, like her whole entire like freaking page is right here, but there's no games. It's just film, television, and music video. Music video. Do the Barkman.
Oh yeah, do the
Okay.
barman. Yeah, video games. Barry of Dragon, Bianca,
Oh yeah,
Handel
shit.
and
There it is.
Greta.
You're right.
Handel and Greta.
Yep, you're right. There it is.
Hello, Spyro.
Oh, really? She was both of those two. Fuck.
Hello, Spyro. My brother Handel and I.
Yeah, so okay, but it does not show her as Bianca in the remake, which makes sense because the remake kind of fucked it up. I'm very weird about that. I'm like the voice performance. I'm like, okay, you don't sound very threatening in the first world or two. You kind of sound like your friendly bunny self from start to end, which is that's nitpicky though.
I get it though, because like especially if it's something you've grown up with and you've got nostalgia for it and memories of it. It's almost like the littlest thing can actually you'll recognize it and you go, hang on a sec, that's not right.
I can appreciate good changes though. In fact, Spyro 1, I forgot to mention this as well. And actually, no, I didn't forget to mention this. I didn't forget to mention this. It wasn't relevant yet. In the remake, they fixed the opening cutscene. They actually like show like Nasty Norg like watching the events on a TV, as opposed to the first game where it just hard cuts to him. And as an audience member, you're kind of just like, wait, is he watching this? Like, how is he watching this? Like, can he hear this? What the fuck's going on? They fix these things.
Yeah, sort of like a mirror on the wall sort of thing. Maybe it's like watch it for there.
There's also a line in Spyro 1 that they fixed in the Reignite as well, where Spyro says you gotta believe in the stupidest way possible, but instead in the remake he just kind of says it like unsure of himself, like you gotta believe, and then kind of laughs at himself for saying that dumb line. Like they knew it was dumb and they poked fun at that.
You gotta believe.
Oh, I think the reason why I was so mad is because Spyro 1 really did like go forward with the story. There was a character who was redeemed, and you totally buy it also. Again, like the first time you meet her, she's really, really nasty. Second time, that's basically it. The first time she's really nasty and just really, just like, you don't stand a chance. Second time, she's just kind of just patronizing a bit more. Just like, you made it this far. Didn't expect that, but you're still not going to win. And then, yeah, third one turns into just like begging, like, hey, please, I don't want to hurt you. I liked that a lot. And then finally, after the third world, where you meet Bianca for the third time, and you beat the third boss, you get the reveal that the sorceress actually has no plans of bringing back magic to the world at all. What she wants to do actually is kill the baby dragons, rip off their wings, and use it for a potion that will let her live forever. That's the twist. Is she's actually evil. Bianca learns this and then leaves.
Yeah,
and then she helps you.
Yeah,
that was cool.
It is It's interesting, and it's sort of like it was a nice way, I guess, to keep a character in, because sometimes bad characters can be tricky to write in unless you want to keep them as bad guys. So it was interesting that they kept it that way.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of shows, or like mostly shows, struggle to have a convincing like character redemption. Like, so yeah, they did it right though.
Right.
Sorry.
I think so are we done with are we done with the first three of each series?
I think we are. Oh, right. I promise I'd tell you which ones are my favorites. Because between 2 and 3, it's pretty hard. I gotta say it's not 1. Even though I will say there is one thing I like genuinely more about 1 than the other 2, and that's the fact that the game is more open-ended. So you need to just scour through these levels and find things. As opposed to games 2 and 3, oftentimes, there was some more branching levels, but oftentimes it's kind of just a straight shot. You run through this area, and along the way, just pick up things. That's the one nitpick, but that's one thing I like. Well, it's the one thing I liked about Spyro 1. Between 2 and 3, though, it's tough. If I were to actually be an actual professional game critic and give the game scores, I'd say Spyro 2 would get a much higher score because of it being more revolutionary. Spyro 3 didn't change all that much. Like, I'd be like, it's kind of more of the same. But, like, if you just ignore that aspect, though, I think that 3 is my favorite one, personally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I get that. I think 2 is my favorite of each series, and yeah.
And that's respectable. I'm not gonna like that. I'm not gonna argue that. If you had said your favorite was Spyro 06, though, I'd be like, hold on, you're just wrong.
My favorite game and the objective best game of all time is Spyro Into the Dragonfly. Fight me
All right.
IRL. So we're done with the first 3, are we?
Yep, because just like Crash Bandicoot, Insomniac was locked into exactly a 3-game contract with Universal Studios. Universal Studios once again said, "Hey, new game every year before the holiday season."
And disaster
and
struck.
and when they were done, Insomniac very wisely said, we're not sure what else we can do with Spyro. We don't want to make more of this. And also Universal, you kind of suck. There's a lot of crunch involved in this shit. We're gonna leave.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split this podcast into two. So
I was thinking the same thing, but can we talk about Crash Team Racing first because that was technically the last true Crash game?
I was going to touch upon it at the start of the next one, if that works. Because it's the gradual decline. Crash Team Racing, I think, is good, but it's also, it's main series. We'll discuss it next episode. We'll discuss it next episode.
I will disagree with that, but I'll respect your choice because Crash Team Racing was very like people really liked that game, and it was the last Naughty Dog game, the last Golden Age Crash game before things went wrong. But we can do it that way, sure.
We'll disclaim it at the start. We'll put a disclaimer at the start.
Okay, I was thinking the same thing though about how like this whole entire thing we've already gone on for the length of a full podcast in just the first 6 games.
Yeah, because they're the ones worth talking about. Okay.
Yeah, really.
So this is going to be a 2-part podcast. So yeah, the link to the second part will be in the description. Join us then.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.